Wat is het allersaaiste wat je kunt doen in de zomer? En dan heb ik het even niet over een voetbalwedstrijd van het Nederlands elftal. Wat is het allersaaiste wat je kunt doen? Iemand? Wat, naar het strand? Op wintersport gaan, dat is buitengewoon saai, ja. Ja, dat is een hele goeie. Iemand anders nog, wat is het allersaaiste wat je kan doen? Nou, u weet het natuurlijk al, dat is naar een etappe van de Tour de France kijken. Dat is natuurlijk verschrikkelijk. Je zit op die bank, het duurt 6 uur en die mannen rijden maar achter elkaar aan. Heel af en toe een berg. Heel af en toe springt iemand weg, zoals dat heet. Nou zijn er mensen die daar iets op bedacht hebben. En dat heet Creatives van het bureau Achtung. En die noemen zich Interactive Agency for the Digital Area. Ook zij vonden dat er wel wat aan de saaiheid van de Tour de France kon gebeuren. En wij vinden hun voorbeeld nou goed om u eens te confronteren met de mogelijkheden van dat second screen. Wat zij eigenlijk bedacht hebben is dat wij niet langer straks couch potatoes zijn bij het kijken naar de Tour de France, maar meespelers. En dat is volgens mij allemaal het voorstadium voor het moment dat we allemaal digitaal kunnen gaan meefietsen. Maar de ontwikkelaars van dit prachtige idee, en graag nog even uw aandacht, zijn Niels Straatman, en ik heb beloofd zijn Finse naam goed uit te spreken, Samuli Ollikainen. Yes! Ik heb hem. Zij spreken u toe in het Engels, maar dat zal voor niemand een probleem zijn. En ik geef hen graag het woord over hun bijdrage Tour du Sofa.
Hello. Bit of technical difficulties, of course. It's part of the plan. Okay. Hello, people. My name is Samuli, and this is Niels, and we are from Achtung. And we are about to present the case that we are currently working on for Skoda. How many of you did watch Tour de France last year? Quite many? Yeah?
All right.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, let's go into a bit of backgrounds of this project, because as you might know, Skoda is one of the main sponsors of the Tour de France, as well as some media around it here in the Netherlands. And they asked us to combine their brand with cycling in a digital activation to promote the fact that they're actually an important sponsor for this big event. And the main insight we use to work on this is the fact that there are a lot of viewers, 6 million. It's not obviously the number that is watching simultaneously or watching all the time, but altogether there are a lot of people watching the Tour de France. So if we use the people that watch the Tour de France to activate the fact that Skoda is one of the sponsors, then that will make quite some sense. But yeah, as you agreed on, it's quite boring to watch the Tour de France. So we wanted to make it a bit more interesting for the viewer. So if they can participate in the Tour de France, then there's a personal stake, and that makes some moments in the Tour de France a bit more interesting as a viewer of this sports event. So the idea is the Tour de Sofa. It's an alternative peloton of couch riders, as we like to call them. And they might bring on not the yellow jersey and not the polka jersey, but the home jersey to Paris. And all from the comfort of their couch. Yeah, let's watch a promo for it.
Vanaf 2 juli bij RTL 4 brengt Tour du Jour het laatste nieuws over de Tour de France, waarin je dit jaar zelf mee kan rijden. Live. Vanaf je eigen bank in Le Tour du Sofa. Voorspel de etappes, speel in op onverwachte situaties en neem de leiding in het thuispeloton. Ga naar tourdujour.nl, speel jezelf in de uitzending en maak kans op fantastische prijzen. Tour du Jour wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Skoda.
So this is actually a promo for, as you heard, Tour de Jour, the RTL daily evening show about the Tour de France. Skoda is also sponsoring that. So we use that promo to get people to know about this second screen application, because if nobody knows about it, no one will use it. So yeah, let's go a bit into the application itself.
Okay. So what it is exactly, it's a second screen app that's HTML5 site. So it's a browser site, but it's planned so it's designed so that it's nice to use on a tablet. I don't actually know what is the penetration of the iPad yet in Netherlands, so I think most of the people will be using it via browser. So every day there will be 21 stages based on the actual Tour de France stages in our sofa peloton as well. So every day a Skoda will present our cyclists, and every day you will get 15 bonus points in the beginning to start the race. And these points are something that you use then later on in the game to make predictions and to add bets, etc. So that's the main mechanism to gaining points to come up in the ranks in the race. That's how it basically works. And making predictions of each climb and each sprint. So here we see, I don't know if you can see back over there, but we have a progress bar during the Tour de Sofa ride, and it's based on the actual Tour de France moments. So when in the actual race, cyclists are going to a climb or to a sprint, so will our peloton sofa riders as well.
And those are the main prediction moments, the climbs and the sprints in the course.
Lines.
But we'll get into that a bit more. Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully there will be tens of thousands of people playing. We don't know yet. But for that, there will be a main navigational element on top of everything that you can browse through the whole tens of thousands people peloton. And your group will be always divided to 6-person groups. And why? We come to that later as well. So since this is not live yet, we are not able to show how it actually works in real life, but we have this flow here. So when a climb begins 5 kilometers before the finish line of the climb, we will present, actually this is a manual thing, that there will be a person sitting and watching when the tour is about 5 kilometers before the finish line of the climb, and this person will handpick 6 cyclists who are most likely to finish the climb like 1, 2, and 3. So because the prediction is always to find out which are the number 1, 2, and 3 at each
sprint or climb or finish line.
Yes, exact.
Yes.
Pardon my English. Yes. So you make your prediction. Then you place your bet. You use your points to bet. And then you'll see 5 kilometers. You are waiting for them to go over the finish line. And now you can see what other people have also predicted around you. So this is to keep it more interesting while you are waiting for the actual results. There is something to keep you busy. You can see actually these little colors will be the exact colors of the jerseys of each team. So you can have a nice overlook of what's going around you. And a bit think about that, what if this guy wins and I have predicted it to be second and he has it and won and he will overtake me, etc., etc. So the results come in. It's about to predict who is the exact number 1, who is the exact number 2, and who is the exact number 3. So if you have one right, then you get points out of that. But if you have also predicted the cyclist in the top 3 that are right, you gain extra points, 1 point here. So after that one, you'll see a nice animation where your scores will be added to your overall score, and then you'll see a couple of seconds what other people gained around you, and a nice animation starts where you see your cyclist going back or overtaking other people. This is an overview what you just saw. how it hopefully will look when it's live.
Well, it looked like this yesterday. We've been testing it on...
it kind of looked already, yeah.
We've been testing it. We are testing it on Tour de Suisse now. So the broadcast of those stages is not as long as the broadcasts of the Tour de France. But we had a couple of hours to test it. And it did work for the biggest part, so that's a good thing. There are still some details to be changed.
Yes, a lot of details to be changed.
A lot of details, yes.
Yes.
Because one of the things yesterday, since the broadcast of the Tour de Suisse starts quite late, and on the course they saved all the sprints and climbs for the last part of the stage, the broadcast was really interesting, and there was a lot happening, so there was a lot of interaction as a second screen player as well. There were lots of predictions. We had a flat tire, which was nice, because we'll come to that as well. But the broadcasts of Tour de France are quite long. So how many interaction do we need to keep it interesting for our audience? And it shouldn't be too much as well, because me, for example, I'm a big fan of the Tour de France, but I follow it at work in another tab of my browser. I only listen to it, basically, so I don't have time to keep playing. My dad loves it as well. He's in the car a lot, so he can't be playing it all the time. So there shouldn't be too much interaction, because it can't be annoying, but there should be enough to stay engaged with the game. But since, we're doing this for the first time as well, we don't know it. So we have built in some, this is pretty much what I just told. So we have some safety nets building. So besides the sprints and the climbs, there will also be interaction when there's a flat tire or a crash, or someone's holding on to a drinking bottle a little too long to get some free speed of the car, or someone is staying behind the car to stay out of the wind a bit. All those small cheating moments, we pick that as a moment that we can have interaction as well. But we don't have to do it every time there is a crash, because like last year in the first week, it was one big crash. But so all those sub-games, they are about a quick response to what is happening on the actual television screen. For example, here, the guy is getting some free speed from his coach. And when we see that, we will activate this right away manually. Like Samuli said, we have some guys watching the tour all the time. They're the same guys that put the latest information on the internet or other sports news channels. And they are now also doing this for us. So as soon as they see it happening on screen, they will press this button. And half of the group you are in will have a chance of getting a drinking bottle as well.
So that's the reason why our groups are divided to 6 cyclist groups. There will be always 3 elements, and the 3 fastest one will gain the bonus out of it. So it makes it also really personal how you are competing against other people in your group.
So the quicker you respond, the more benefit you have from what you just saw on the screen. So in this case, there's a drinking bottle. Hey! He has it. So you take over your opponents that missed out on that little benefit that popped up.
A nice little detail to make it personal is that this is all built in HTML, so all the jerseys will be, choose your jersey color in the beginning. So in all the animations you will see exact the same cyclist overtaking the exact cyclist you see on the overview peloton.
Yes.
So
So in case there's a crash, you can grab a helmet to get away with it a little bit. This is still a test animation. But yeah,
too slow.
Too late. So, too bad. To get back a little to what Samuli just said about the jersey colors as well, all the way in the bottom we have a button that says show your friends. Through Facebook Connect we can see which of your friends are also playing, which makes it a little more personal than just a jersey color, but also seeing the names of your friends. And then in situations like this, passing them as well in the animations, because they're all dynamically made. So yeah, the material, it happens. So will you get a new wheel to repair your flat tire? It all depends on your speed. So let's say the first week is quite a boring week often. So there will be no crash, no material problems, only 2 sprints in a stage to predict it might happen, that it's just too boring. And if we see that, then we have another escape, which is trivia about today's stage, as well as the riders that are on the stage today. It's very easy. It's yes or no. There's no in-depth knowledge needed in order to play this game. Something we kept in mind from the very beginning, that if we make another manager game, it's only for people who really know a lot about cycling. And we want this to be a game that's also playable by people who don't know a lot about cycling, but still interesting enough for people who do know a lot about cycling.
I'm from Finland, so I don't know anything about cycling, so I have been the perfect best person for this one.
So 50-50 questions is what we agreed on, because there's still a chance if you have no clue at all. But as it's a 50-50 chance, of course, the points aren't that much. You can decide not to play as well. You won't lose any points, but it's also to make the difference in the peloton, because we still have to find out if everyone predicts right and goes all in with the points, then the score of those thousands of players will stay the same. So somewhere we have to make the difference in points, and it might be that we need the questions for that. Again, we don't know. We will find out this summer.
Okay, so as Niels already told, to make it to have a little spread around the whole campaign, of course, we need some social aspects. For example, it's more fun if you connect with Facebook. You can easily share stuff that happens there during the race, and you can see your friends. You can compete against your friends. And at least yesterday when we tried, it was nice for you. It was not that nice for me.
Yeah, third. Yeah, quite nice.
And as in actual Tour de France, you can, as I have understood, people are writing messages to the road, so you can tweet to our road. Little details, little details. And yeah, after each stage, you can share your stuff, what you have gained so far. So this is the view that after today's stage is over, you get the results, and then you can brag about it.
Yes. So yeah, to not have this purely digital thing, because it's not actually. It's not a standalone game that you play in the train or whatever. It's something you do as you watch something happen in real life, and then it is a real event. So we also have a tie back to that TV show Tour de Jour, where besides the changes in the leaderboard of the yellow jersey and or today's stage outcome, we will also have a little recap about what happened in a thuisklassement today. So how did our couch riders do, and who's the big winner of today, who's the big loser of today. And then also some of the daily winners will be invited into the studio, where they can win trips to the Tour de France to drive along in a Skoda car, and there it becomes offline.
I think this is quite often nowadays that when we are doing something, then the core is like so purely digital as this one. The whole core of the campaign is an app. Basically, we want to make it somewhat more real, and then we start looking things that are around of the digital environment to make it more real and make it more valuable for the user, kind of more interesting.
And also the big prize where you're competing for 21 stages. Yes, it is a car for a car brand, obviously, but more importantly, it is the orange jersey. That is what you're competing for. You will be in Paris on the Champs-Élysées getting this jersey on a little podium with the Ronde Misse on your side, like real champions do. Yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ben ik hoorbaar? Ja. I would definitely suggest to get Andy Schleck as a player, because yesterday we heard that he can't participate because of a back injury.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have Andy Schleck, which is always number 2 in the Tour de France.
It's always
game,
of course.
cycling. I have one question here first to Christian, because he said to me, immediately it's the most boring thing you can do, watching the Tour de France during the summertime. Would this convince you to participate?
Well, I would have to be watching the TV show, right?
Kind of, yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that is still a problem, the Tour de France.
It has no 4 wheels and no motor in it.
Okay, well, we can't convince him, I
We can play it
suppose.
in a car.
But you can drive in a Skoda if you win. So it does help.
Achter in de zaal, bij Marta, daar zie ik een vraag, ja.
Wil je hem doorgeven?
And in your best English, please.
Yes, I have one question. I think the game is a nice idea, but you said it's boring to watch the Tour de France, but at the very moment it's getting interesting, you have to watch somewhere else. Isn't that where your concept is kind of lacking?
Well,
Shouldn't you be doing something when the race is actually boring?
Well, it's right before or right after the moments that it's interesting. Like a crash, you can't really see that coming, but right after that, there's a game. But for example, a climb can be very long. It can be 20 kilometers, and then 10 of them will be boring. And those 10 minutes become interesting if you have made a prediction, and so did your friends. And then it's seeing who is right, and it's a time span of maybe 20 minutes where it gets determined whether you were right or your friends were right. It's sort of a European Championship pool, as to say. So I think that is how it becomes a bit more interesting.
Okay, I have got another question here, Marta.
You were talking about people actually pushing buttons when you pass the 5 kilometer stretch.
Yes.
How much real-time telemetric data is actually available at the Tour de France? For example, if you would compare it to Formula 1, you could get to huge amounts of data. Is it already at stage that you really can get real-time data from people driving in the Tour?
No, there is no GPS or something like that, if that's what you ask.
Even the TV broadcast uses manual information about where they are. So it's really like the guys who are doing it are getting some information, but most of it is from what they see from the live broadcast.
Yeah, over there with Marta.
Yeah.
Hi, one of my questions is more technical. As you mentioned, you were watching Tour de France via internet. How do you solve the problem between the buffering? I mean, there's, I think, a 30 seconds difference between real-life TV and the internet stream. How do you solve this problem with the real-time interaction?
That is true, and also with the analogic and digital
TV.
Yeah. There is we have built in. There is a pin time when we're asking the server which players have already been active, etc. So there is a bit of lag at every moment.
Yeah, but
it's not as smooth as in our video in real life, perhaps. But
in case of making a prediction, it's not 30 seconds doesn't really make the difference most of the times, because you can already, like if there's a sprint coming up, you already see which guys are willing to go for it because their whole team is there and stuff like that. But when it really matters is, for example, with the drinking bottles or a flat tire, and at those moments we also have a sort of system that it sends you a time code to your iPad, let's say, and it sends a time code back, and the difference between those time codes, that is your reaction time. So even if there's a lag, we can still see how fast you responded. But it will take some loading time then to get the results as a result of that.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for showing us what is possible on the second screen. I think you've deserved another round of applause. Thank you.